We Real Cool by Gwendolyn Brooks. The Pool Players, 7 of the Golden Shovel. We real cool, we left school, we lurk late, we strike straight, we sing sin, we thin gin, we jazz June, we die soon. Gwendolyn Brooks was born on June 7th, 1917, and she died December 3rd, 2000. She grew up in Chicago. Her father was a janitor and her mother was a school teacher. Brooks was the first Black poetry consultant to the Library of Congress. She published her first poem at 13 years old. It was called Eventide. She published about 75 poems by the time she was 16 years old. She got married in 1938 and she died from cancer at 83 years old. She wrote We Real Cool in 1960. I know this poem is extremely short and simple, and to us the term we real cool seems kind of memey and funny. However, this poem actually has a lot of meaning and depth, and an important message to teens around the globe. It doesn't just have to be teens, it can be any person, young or old, because it has to do with making wise choices, which kind of plays into the great controversy and all of that ish, but back to the poem. When I annotated the poem using soapstone, there were a lot of interesting things that popped out to me. At first, I thought that the speakers in the poem were the pool players and that there were 7 of them, because the word we was being used. Once I read the poem fully and recognized the tone being used, I determined that Brooks herself is the speaker. She is almost mocking the pool players she sees, imitating what they might be saying. In a way, there are 2 speakers in this poem, the one being imitated and the one imitating. The occasion was that they had ditched school and they were hanging out at the Golden Shovel. Right off the bat, I noticed that we was placed at the end of each line, even though it was the start to each sentence, and so it is spoken very fast and very short. I figured that lurk late referred to staying out late. Stereotypically, cool kids stay out late partying, hanging out with their friends, and doing wild things. Strike straight referred to their pool skills and the fact that they were able to strike the ball straight into the hole. They obviously spent a lot of time playing pool, practicing, instead of going to school, I guess, maybe. Sing sin refers to them celebrating the sin that they are living in and praising their wrong choices, thinking that they're good and cool. I had to do some research for Jazz June. The first thing that popped up was an emo band that originated from Kutztown, Pennsylvania in 1996. I had a slight feeling this wasn't what Brooks was talking about, seeing that this band was formed 33 years after her poem was published, so I dug some more, and I found out that she used jazz as a verb to represent freedom and dancing, and June was a representation of summer break. It's supposed to draw the conclusion that since they skip school so often, it's like they're always on summer break and just living life freely and carelessly. The audience in this poem is Brooks. She's not recording that they're claiming that she is not recording what that they are claiming this to other people. It is just supposed to be an interpretation of what they're thinking. She's speaking it to herself. The purpose of the poem is different than the author's purpose. I say this because I think the speaker's purpose is to brag about how cool they are and what rebellious things they do, whereas the author's purpose is to mock and show how serious their decisions actually are and how unwise they are. The subject of the poem is life, how it is lived, what choices are made, and what is there to look forward to. The tone of voice I would imagine for this poem is someone mocking a careless and proud voice. Brooks really plays with tone in this poem to get her message across, and I will explain more about that later, but she definitely uses satire in this poem. I did some more research and found in a biography about Gwendolyn Brooks an insert that said, Brooks said she found her inspiration to write We Real Cool when she stumbled upon a pool hall of boys in her neighborhood and quietly wondered how they felt about themselves. That piece of information is reflected in the tone being used that I mentioned earlier. I can imagine Brooks observing the boys and mumbling under her breath, "We, real cool." I can imagine maybe the disappointment she felt, knowing that these boys had potential to end up in the wrong place because their current decisions were leading them there. And they're so full of themselves, thinking that they're so amazing and cool, and in reality, they're leading themselves into a life of like loserness, if that makes sense. One final thing I noticed that ties this whole poem together is that the poem starts off fairly innocent with the harmless error that the students committed of ditching school. The last line of the poem, however, is "We die soon." The poem escalates quickly, and that is reflective on what bad choices can do to your life. That is the message of the poem, I think, overall. First off, the wrong path doesn't necessarily have to lead off with something extremely bad. The tiny decisions you make every day shape who you become in your later years. Your choices shape who you become as a person. For the boys in this poem, it started off with them skipping school and playing pool. It led to drinking, which led to them losing their care for living a decent and honorable life. Pretty soon, all that they had to look forward to was dying. Instead of the last line being "we succeed soon" or "we love or live soon." Secondly, sometimes when you're so full of yourself and prideful, you look like an idiot, and a lot of times people can see right through you. There's more purpose to your life when you focus on others and not yourself. Your possibilities increase, and your potential is for greatness is off the charts. Brooks relays this message by using a mocking, sarcastic tone. It reminded me of reductio ad absurdum. Yes, I had to go back and check my notes to remember that one. This might be a better way to describe what I'm trying to get across when it comes to tone. She mocks their actions to prove how foolish they look. She speaks about it in a very casual way, as if she too agrees that the pool players are cool for their rebelliousness, when in reality, she's trying to prove a point. In conclusion, "We Real Cool" captures the thoughts that might be going through the minds of rebellious teens. The poem is also a warning to young people to make wise decisions, because those decisions catch up to you later in life. I think the method that Brooks used to get this point across was really effective, because it just showed and made everything clear that that you can see right through it, and it showed how foolish and how threatening those decisions that you make today can be towards the bigger goal that you have to look forward to. That is the end of my thing.